Shalom, shalom. I want to start off by saying Kal Halayim, La'abanawa, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach wa Malak Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakak Kadash, La'aywalam Yum. I want to give double honors to all the elders and apostles that govern the nation well, that speak this truth and sincerity, as well as give thanks to all the men on the highways and the byways doing this work diligently to make their calling and their election sure. This lesson is coming to me through the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Hopefully it's edifying. This is Brother Kazak coming back at you with another video. We're going to get right into it. This has been on my spirit, for the last, 24 hours. I've been pondering about it and thinking about it. How, the nations will drink of the cup that, that the Lord have destined for them. That fire, that cup of destruction and fire and brimstone and, race wars and things like that, pestilence. That's the cup that these nations will drink, right? We had to drink of the cup. They're going to also have to drink of the cup too as well. And I got two articles that, I'm going to go through. I'm not going to read them entirely. We're just going to point out some key points. And then we're going to bring out precepts too as well just to, back up the claim. So let's get right into it. It says the U.S. white majority will soon disappear forever. Right? That's according to, Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18. Just with that first title, let's get a precept. With that first title. Obadiah chapter 1, we can start at verse 10, right? It says, "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever." Right? Don't that link up with that title? Let's continue on to the main verse here. It says, Salakia. It says, "And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame." So that's talking about the Israelites, right? The seed of Jacob, the seed line of Jacob. Jacob's name will change to Israel. This is talking about the Israelites. And it says, I'm going to start from the top. Obadiah chapter 1, verse 18. "And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble." So we all know that whatever you put inside the fire, the residue that's come after, the residue that come out after, if there's any left, is called stubble, right? And it says, "And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it," right? So let's go back to this here. Just starting with the title, the precept for that, the U.S. white majority will soon disappear forever. Let's continue going on just to get the meat out of these articles, right? Declining numbers. The proportion of whites in the U.S. population started to decline in the 1950s. It fell to gradually over the years, eventually reaching just over 60% in 2018, the lowest percentage ever recorded. Although the majority of the U.S. population today is still white, non-whites account for more than half of the population of Hawaii, the District of Columbia, California, New Mexico, Texas, and Nevada. And in the next 10 to 15 years, these half-dozen majority-minority states will likely be joined by as many as 8 other states where whites now make up less than 60% of the population. Right, so we know when it talks about the non-whites, right, it's talking about, most of the time it's talking about the Israelites. These nations always try to compare themselves to the Israelites. Right now Issachar, is taking over the United States, even though this was their land initially. They're taking over the United States, and that's why they want to build up walls and borders, and you see Donald Trump already started building on the wall and things like that. But that's not going to stop it. They want to make America white again. Instead of saying, let's make America great again, they want to make America white again, right? That's what that really mean. Because it was a time period where America was dominantly white. But we all know, according to the scriptures, they're not white, they're red. But we're just going to, continue reading. Here go a list of the least white states, right? You got Louisiana. You got all of these lists states on here. The majority of them is non-white. Let's read here. It says, in 2018, 60% of the U.S. population identified as non-Hispanic white. In 14 states, the District of Columbia, the proportion of white residents fell below that average, right? So here you go, you're seeing the different states. Let's go over here behind the trends. So, why are the numbers of the white people declining, or the red people, or the Edomites declining? And why are non-white numbers increasing? The answer is basic demographic. The answer is demographic, right? Births, deaths, and immigration. So, births, right? The white women is not producing babies like the other races are doing, right? The other nations, especially when it comes to Israel. You know, you got a Hispanic woman, she'll do about 2 kids at the minimum. You know, so-called blacks, they doing about 2 to 3 kids at the minimum. But these whites, they only produce about, you know, they have like 1 child or 2 childs. The majority of them don't even have kids, right? Their bodies are messed up to the point where they cannot produce the kids. And that's all judgment from the Lord. And I'm going to bring that out through precepts, right? I'm going to start from the top again. It says, why are the numbers of white people declining, and why are non-white numbers increasing? The answer is basic demography. Births, deaths, and immigration. But the next paragraph, it says white women have an average of 1.7 children over their lifetimes, while Latina women, or we know that's talking about the Israelites, while Latina women average 2.2. The total fertility rates of blacks, Asians, and American Indians are in between. So whites have fewer births than all non-white groups, right? So they have the lowest of producing kids. This is all the cup going into their hand now, right? And the scriptures let you know that if if they have kids and if they increase, it's for destruction, it's for the sword. Continuing on, it says there are also big differences in age structure. 62% of Latinas, 15 years of age or older are of childbearing age. Only 42% of white women fall into this group. Latinos also have lower mortality rates than whites, right? Demographers call this the epidemiological paradox, right? So here goes another chart letting you know about the declining of the white population. You know, this is the future of whiteness. That's what they're talking about. Let's see here if I want to get anything from there. No, that's it. That's all I want in there. There we go. I got this other article too as well. This is this article here is you know, this is another reason why the whites are declining too as well. We remember in the other article they was talking about how low birth rates and, you know, death plays a big role in how the white population, the so-called white population, is declining. Well, here's a major reason why they're declining too as well. The opioid crisis explained in black and white. Right, so let's get some meat out of this article too as well. It says more than 2 million Americans are addicted to opioid class drugs. The Centers for Disease Control, CDC, reports that overdose deaths, including prescription opioids, have quadrupled since 1999. And the drug overdoses now kill more people every year than gun violence or car accidents. So you know when Esau come up with articles and statistics like this, when it talks about people, it's talking about them, right? It's talking about their nation, their nationality. It's talking about the Edomites, you know, because they don't really give a damn if it's happening to any other race or if it's happening to the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics. They don't give a damn if it's happening to them. You know what I'm saying? If it's happening to us, they only give a damn when it's happening to them, and I'm going to prove it. Let's see here. It is encouraging to see the government taking a therapeutic approach to this drug crisis by looking towards alternative solutions to address the problem outside of criminal justice system. So remember in the 1980s when the so-called blacks was hit with the crack epidemic, right? You didn't see them. They wasn't talking about a therapeutic approach. Nah, they came up with what? The war on drugs. They increase police brutality. They increase police numbers. They increase the prison beds and prisons, you know what I'm saying, building on prisons, things like that. But now, since it's happening to them, now they want to come with a therapeutic approach instead of keeping it even across the board. Why, when they're going through something or when something happened to their people, it's, oh, they was nice guys, and it was something happened, they had mental issues, or they're addicted to drugs. Let's put them in hospitals instead of locking them up. This is what they do. But in the 1980s, right, the war on drugs happened. So let's read more into it. It says, this approach hasn't always been the case. What approach hasn't always been the case? The therapeutic approach haven't always been the case. When faced with crack epidemic in the 1980s, the war on drugs focused on increasing law enforcement personnel and expanding prison capacity, right? The disease model of addiction, widely held by medical communities for nearly 3 decades, states that addicts are more adequately served by treatment than imprisonment. So now that the opioid epidemic is happening to them, they want to keep their people out of prisons and put them into healthcare facilities, right? So you see how it's never fair. Like, it's never fair. It's never even across the board. We go into the so-called blacks, Native Americans, the Israelites go through something, let's lock their ass up, increase more law enforcement. There are people going through stuff. Oh, let's focus on the therapeutic approach. Let's put them in hospitals. Let's do this. Let's do that. It's crazy, right? Continuing on, it says, with opioid deaths disproportionately high among whites, right? 80% of opioid overdose deaths in 2017 was so-called whites, the reds. 80% of them died from overdoses just in 2017. Salakia, that's not what that's talking about. 80% of the drug overdose cases were so-called whites, were the whites in 2017. It says drug addiction and overdose risks are no longer problems just for poor minorities. See, you got to worry about the wording and be able to discern Esau semantics, right? So who are the poor minorities? It's talking about the so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics. You know, that's what it's talking about. Now it's their problem, so now they want to put a therapeutic approach to it. But when it was our problem, lock their asses up. It's crazy. It says, perhaps not coincidentally, the approach to addressing the problem has changed, right? Let me see if I could get some more of me from this, or let me see. All right, yeah, treatment addiction as a medical issue. It says most health professionals agree that addicts are more successful when treated in therapeutic environments, and that incarceration does little to reduce their future drug use. Wow, so why did the war on drugs happen for our people? Why did they lock up our people for having drugs on them and things like that, and being addicts? Fill the prison houses up with them. But now it's your turn to go through this. Now that you're drinking of the cup, you're trying to solve the problem therapeutically. No, that's not going to happen, right? You're going to, Esau, the so-called white man, is going to continue to decline until he's off the face of the earth. And that's according to the scriptures, right? We just brought out Obadiah chapter 1, verse 18. They shall be destroyed. Obadiah chapter 1, verse 10. They shall be destroyed. Let's get another one, right? Isaiah chapter 14. In verse 21, it says, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, right? So this is what's happening to the so-called whites, right? The word iniquity means abominable acts. What are some of the abominable acts that these people have done? Committed genocide on the so-called Native Americans, right? They killed over 100 million so-called Native Americans, and then with the remaining of them, they put them on reservations, right? The so-called Native Americans in the United States, they are the lowest race, or they have the lowest numbers of people inside of their demographic, or their race, right? They don't have the numbers like they used to because of these wicked ass people, right? So that's why the scriptures say, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. You got a lot of so-called whites. I didn't do it. Oh, that wasn't me. Oh, I'm not benefiting. But they're lying right through their teeth, right? Their words were smoother than butter, but war was in their heart. So that's why the scripture says this, man, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. Don't that link up with Obadiah chapter 1, verse 10, 1 verse 18? They shall be destroyed. Verse 22, for I will rise up against them, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will cut off from Babylon the name, and the remnant, and the son, and the nephew, saith the Lord. So we know what Babylon is, right? We know Babylon is America. This is spiritual Babylon, right? And we can back that up with Revelation. Revelation chapter 11. And we can go, we can go with verse, verse 8, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified, right? So this is spiritual Babylon, this is spiritual Sodom, and the spiritual Egypt. How are they spiritual Sodom? They are the only country that's really pushing this homosexuality. You know what I'm saying? This pedophilia, things like that. This is what they're doing, right? They are the beast on the earth, and they are constantly going to decline because why? They have to drink of that cup now, right? They have to drink of that cup. Let me see if I can get some more from this. Then we're going to continue going through the precepts. Okay. The strategies that emerge to reduce overdose risk in the suburbs, right? In the suburbs. Who lives in the suburbs? It's not our people. Our people live in the ghettos. The word ghetto means where the Jews reside. So these people are really trying to come up with ways to stop them from falling. Let's make America great again. When was America ever great for the so-called Black, Native American, and Hispanic? That's how you know you got to read between the lines and the semantics of these damn dogs, man. They're dogs, man. Salakia. Let's see, continue on. Right here, the stigma of an arrest and past jail time is another barrier that addicts, disproportionately people of color, must face, right? Decriminalizing personal possession of drugs and expunging the arrest records of those harmed by past punitive drug policies would be a first step at leveling the field. But we know Esau is too prideful to do that. They will not do that, man. You know how many people they locked up on a so-called war of drugs? Now, they're people on drugs. Where is the war on drugs? No, they have a therapeutic approach to it, man. These people are the damn devil, man. The word devil means deceiver, right? They are the damn devil the Bible speaks about, man. They are the damn devil the Bible speaks about. It says, if the Sackler family can make an estimated $13 billion off Oxycontin sales and not be held criminally liable for pushing drugs that were known to be addictive, despite the number of deaths directly associated with their product, certainly we can offer the same opportunity to others, right? Hey, like he just said in this article, Oxycontin kill people. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people overdose on Oxycontin off of all these opioids, and they're not in prison. They're doing the same thing like they did with our people, man, slaughtering our people off. Who went to prison for slavery? Who went to prison? Who went to prison and serving time, you know what I'm saying, for the abominable acts that they did to us in the past? No one. It's like when these people do something, they got to take another approach to it, and they got to think of ways to get around it. How can you be the person that inflict or cause harm to a nation of people, and then you also judge them? These people are the damn devil that the Bible speaks about. Let's get right into these precepts. I'm done with the article. Let's go to Lamentation chapter 4. Lamentation chapter 4, I'm going to start at verse 21. It says, rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken and shall make thyself naked. That's what's happening to America and all these Edomite countries, right? The prophets on the highways and the byways exposing them. right? They're making themselves naked, right? And right here it says, the cup shall also pass through unto thee. So right now, our people had to drink of that cup. Our people had to go through captivity, had to go through slavery, had to go through this, had to go through that, being shot down, being hung, organs being taken from them, things like that. We had to go through it, but guess what? The cup is coming on to you all too as well, man. Not just Edom, but you other nations too as well that had us into captivity. The worst thing, you people, you other nations, outside of Israel, outside of the so-called Black, Native American, and Hispanic, you other nations messed up when you touched the apple of the Lord's eye, which are his people, right? You messed up when you touched the nation of Israel. You messed up when you destroyed our walls and put us on ships and drove us to every part of this damn world to forcefully be your slaves, man. You messed up. And it's time for you to pay. It's time for you, all the nations, to drink of the cup. Verse 22, the punishment on thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He sent his son to die for our sins. He sent Yahushua to die for our sins. Right now, we are in a grace period to repent, make supplications to the Lord for the sins that we have committed. Look, he said it right here, verse 22, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins, right? So it's time, I like to say it's time for the big payback, right? That's what time it is. It's time for the big payback. Let's go over to Deuteronomy chapter 30. And I'm going to start at verse 1, right? Because we're going to get right into it. These nations shall drink of the cup. The same curses that we had to go through, that we had to go under, these nations shall go under it too as well. But Esau, the Edomites, they shall be wiped off the face of the earth. The so-called white man shall be wiped off the face of the earth. Thus saith the scriptures, right? Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee. So it's the Lord that brought the Israelites into captivity. The other nations didn't do anything. You know what I'm saying? It's the Lord that gave them the power to touch us. It's the Lord that gave them the power to send us to put us through captivity and make us their servants, right? But right now, we're remembering the blessings and the curses. According to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1 through 14, those are the blessings. And from verse 15, all the way to verse 68, those are the curses. And that's what we bring into mind right now. Who fit those curses? Those curses. It's only the Israelites. Every other nation is not going through these curses, right? So that's what's coming to our mind. We remember in the days of old. Verse 2, and thou shalt return unto the Lord thy God, your God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart, meaning all thy mind, and with all thy soul. Verse 3, and it says, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee. So you know how we love to go into prophecy. This is what it is. We return into our nationality. We return into our heritage. And the Lord will do what? He will bring us from where he hath scattered us to, right? He will gather us together. And let me back that up too as well with a precept real quick. Jeremiah chapter 16, we can start at verse 14. It says, therefore, behold, the day is come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, right? So no more will we be saying, look, Egypt means bondage. No more will we be breaking it down that way. Verse 15, it says, but the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north. So from North America, you know what I'm saying, things like that, and from all the lands whither he hath driven them, and I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their forefathers, right? So that's what the Lord shall do. That's future prophecy. It's going to happen. All we got to do is, as a nation that's supposed to be following Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, only thing we have to do is do what's required of us, right? And let me get that. Hold on. Deuteronomy chapter 10 and verse 12. And now Israel, what do the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. Verse 13, to keep the commandments of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. So that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? In order for us to gather together and the Lord bring us back into the land that he promised to our forefathers. That's future prophecy right there, and it's going to happen, right? Verse 4, it says, if any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, meaning the outmost parts of these people rulership, from thence will from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. Verse 5, and the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do good. He will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers, right? Verse 6, and the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed. So the Lord will circumcise our mind, right? That's what he will do. He will circumcise our mind and the mind of our seed to love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. So we know over in Hebrews, that's what he said. He's going to put the laws and the commandments in our inward parts, meaning in our mind, right? And then it says, verse 7, and the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So that's the time that we're in now. All these nations that had us into captivity, especially the Edomites, because this is our last captivity where we were oppressed together. The northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, we were oppressed together in this last captivity. The Lord said, what? And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So the Edomites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Hamites, you know what I'm saying? The Ishmaelites, all these nations will drink of this cup now. All these nations, instead of them being blessed and having us at this lower state, they're going to be cursed. The curses are going to be upon all of our enemies, all of the so-called Black, Native American, and Hispanic enemies, right? Because we know who the enemies are over in Psalms chapter 83, right? You read from 1 on down, and it'll let you know who the enemies are that made sure Israel may no longer be in remembrance. So all these enemies shall drink of this cup. All these enemies shall drink of the cup of these curses, right? Let's go over to Isaiah chapter 51 and verse 17. Isaiah chapter 51, and we're going to start at verse 17. Isaiah chapter 51, verse 17. And we can read verse 17. It says, awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. So we have drunk the cup of the Lord's fury, right? Jerusalem, O Jerusalem. See, Jerusalem is a people before it's a place, right? That's what we got to understand. Just like Israel was a man before it was a place, right? So awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the dregs. Let's look up the word dregs here, right? Let's see what the word dregs mean. That means the bottom of the cup, right? That's what that means, the bottom of the cup. But don't take my word for it. We're going to get it. Okay. Let's see here. The chalice of the cup. Let me see here. I mean, the outline biblical use is the cup. Let me see if I can get it to as well here. The remnant of, Salakia, here it is, the remnants of a liquid left in a container together with any sediment or grounds, right? So, right here, another one, the most worthless part or parts of something, the dregs. So when the scriptures say, Isaiah chapter 51 and verse 17, awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. Thou hast drunken the dregs, meaning the worst part of that cup, right? The murder, desolation, organ harvesting, rape, murder, pillage. That's what we have drunk, right? Of the cup of the Lord's fury. So it says, thou hast drunken the dregs of the cup of trembling and wrung them out, right? This is what's happening. This is what we have done. So these nations shall do the same. The cup shall pass over into their hands, right? That's what the Lord hath said. They shall surely drink of that cup. That's over in Lamentations chapter 4, verse 21? Let's read verse 22. And it says, thus said the Lord, Salakia, thus said thy Lord, the Lord, and thy God that pleadeth the cause of his people. Who are his people, man? The Lord is a racist, man. The Lord is for his race. He's for the so-called black, Native Americans, and Hispanics. He loved his people. He chosen his people. Out of all 18 nations, he only chose one, right? So it says, thus said thy Lord, the Lord, and thy God that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again, right? Verse 23, but I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground and as the street to them that went over, right? So the cup is passing from our hands, the cup of trembling, the cup of destruction, the cup of pestilence, the cup of rape, the cup of pillaging, the cup of everything, man, slavery, all of the negative things that we had to go through as a people. Now it will go over to these other nations. All of these nations outside of Yasharallah shall drink of that cup, man. And it's their time. That's why Esau is constantly declining. That's why he's dying from opioid addictions. His women is not producing babies at record numbers like the other races. He's just constantly falling. That is the main enemy, right? Who are the Edomites? They are the main enemies, and they're going to constantly decrease until they're no longer in existence. And call Halayim La'abanawa Yahweh Bahashem Hamashiach Malaki Yahweh. Righteous judgment, man. Let's get this real quick before I continue on. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. This is righteous judgment, man. Call Halayim. 2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with Yahweh to recompense tribulation, to recompense pain to them that trouble you, right? That's what the Lord hath said. The cup has came from us. We had to drink of that fury. Now these other nations shall drink of it. Call Halayim, man. Call Halayim. Let's get some more. Psalms chapter 75 and I believe, let me see. Psalms chapter 75. Let me see what I want. Call Halayim, these nations shall drink of that cup. They trying to push the RFID chip on our people. They trying to do the most to survive. These nations, especially Esau, they know they are going down. So it's their job to make sure that nobody be saved. That's how prideful they are. They know that they will not be saved. So they want to make sure everybody don't be saved. And that's not going to happen, man. His people are going to wake up and realize who the hell they are, and they're going to put your ass to death, like the scriptures say, man. The scriptures say that, man. By the hand of his people, right? That we're going to enact judgment, man. By the Lord, through Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. Call Halayim. The cup is passing from us and is going to these other nations. Call Halayim. What verse do I want? We can start at verse 6 right here. It says, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. Verse 7. But God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. So these nations were set up in power by our God, right? They were set up by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. You understand? No other, you can't just self-proclaim to be a top nation like China or self-proclaim to be a top nation like America or like Russia. No, it's the Lord that set these people up. It's the Lord that set these kings up so they can be destroyed. Ultimately, it's the Lord that sent them against us so his work can come to fruition, right? So everything is on the Lord's plan. Ain't nobody in power just because. No, it's the Lord that do the promotion, man. It's the Lord that do the promotion. Let's continue to verse 8. It says, for in the hand of the Lord there is a cup. Here we go. In the hand of the Lord there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and he poureth out of the same. But the dregs thereof, all the wicked of the earth, shall wring them out and drink them. So all these wicked nations on this earth shall drink from the cup of the Lord that he have in his hand. We had to drink it. Best believe all you other nations outside of Yasharallah, all you other nations outside of the nation of Israel, the so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics, if you are not part of Yasharallah, get prepared to drink of this cup of fury. Get prepared to drink of this cup of rape, murder, torture, slavery, pestilence. Get ready to drink of that cup. And not only drinking of the cup, you're going to drink the dregs of the cup, the worst of the cups. Did we just bring out what the word dreg mean? The most worthless part or parts of something. The remnants of a liquid left in a container. So every time you drink of something, right? Every time you drink something, that little part left that's in the cup, that represents the dregs, and these nations shall drink it all up. Kal halayim la'abanawa Yahweh, man. Verse 9, it says, but I will declare forever. I will sing praises to the God of Jacob. Not the God of everybody else, the God of Jacob. And we know Jacob had 12 sons, and the children of Israel came from one of those sons, right? That's Kal halayim, man. These nations shall drink of this cup, and if you don't, you will be forced to drink of that cup, right? Ain't no choice in this. It's over with. We ain't had no choice to drink of the cup or not. No, we had to. We were forced to because we disobeyed our God. Now that you touched us, now that you destroyed us mentally and physically, now it's time for you all to be destroyed. Verse 10, all the horns of the wicked also will I cut off, but the horns of the righteous shall be exalted. Kal halayim la'abanawa Yahweh Bahashem Hamashiach wa Malak Yahweh Shah, man. Bahashem wa Kadash, man. Kal halayim, for the Lord passing the cup from us to these other nations that hurt us, man. Let's go to Psalms chapter 11, and we can start at verse we can start at verse 5. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence, his soul shall hateth. So these people, they even love Edomites, these so-called whites, they even love blood in their food, man. They wicked as hell. You know what I'm saying? They love violence. Come to you with smooth words, but war was in their mind. Came up to the so-called Native Americans. The only thing the Native Americans wanted to do was help these people, teach them how to survive the winters. And what did they do? What did these Edomites do? They damn near wiped them out. Over 100 million of them are gone, are dead, and then stuck the remnant of them on reservations. And not only that, Cleveland got a team called the Cleveland Indians. These people are prideful, they love violence, and they will drink of that cup, man. And the Edomites, they will drink of that cup so much to the point where they will no longer exist on this earth anymore. According to Obadiah chapter 10, according to Obadiah chapter 18, and according to Isaiah chapter 14, verse 21. Verse 6, upon the wicked he shall rain snares, he shall rain traps, fire and brimstone, and an horrible tempest. This shall be the cup. So like this shall be the portion of their cup. This shall be the portion of all these other nations outside of Yasharallah. They got to drink of fire and brimstone, right? Of traps and of a horrible tempest. This shall be the portion of their cup, the wicked, right? The wicked shall drink of this cup. Right, verse 7, for the righteous Lord loveth righteousness, his countenance doeth behold the upright, right? So the Lord paying attention to the upright. The Lord know who the upright are, right? Yahweh Shah told you over in John chapter 6 and verse 64, he told you he knew from the beginning who will betray him, right? So these other nations will do what? They will drink of the cup. This is their portion. Nuclear missile fire is their portion. Pestilence is their portion. You understand? Slavery is their portion. Race wars is their portion. They shall drink of the cup like we drunk of that cup too, Yasharallah. Call her lion, man. Call her lion. Let's get some more precepts real quick. Jeremiah chapter, let me see. Jeremiah chapter 25. And we can start at verse, start at verse 14. It says, for many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them. Who is that them? It's always talking about Yasharallah. It's always talking about Israel, right? The 12 tribes of Israel, the so-called blacks, Native Americans, and Hispanics. So verse 14 says, for many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them also, and I will recompense them according to their deeds and according to their works of, and according to the works of their own hands. So the Lord is giving the cup into their hands because of what they did to Yasharallah. Verse 15, for thus saith the Lord God of Israel unto me, take the wine cup of this fury at my hand and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it. Right? Verse 16, and they shall drink it. It's not no maybe. It's not no might. It's not no I guess or let me think about it. No, and they shall drink and be moved and be mad because of because of the sword that I will send among them. Right? Right? Now, we also know that this is also talking about Yasharallah too as well. At that time period, you know, that's when we were going through the cup of fury and things like that. The Lord told Jeremiah to do what? Warn the people this is what's going to happen to them for not following my law, statutes, and commandments. But also, this is talking about these other nations too as well, right? Because you know right here in verse 15, it says, for thus saith the Lord God of Israel unto me, take the wine cup of this fury at my hand and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it, right? So verse 17, it says, then took I the cup at the Lord's hand and made all the nations to drink unto whom the Lord has sent. Right? And the Lord has sent me. So these nations shall drink of the cup. And if you continue on, it'll let you know who the Lord sent Jeremiah to. If you continue on, you know. Let me see here. Let's get another precept too as well. Then we're going to come back to this one. Revelation chapter 18. We can start at verse 4. It says, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people. Here we go, my people. He's talking about Israel. That ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. So let's go over to one of the plagues that's coming. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 12. Right? So we don't want to be a part of the plagues that's coming. This is the portion of the other nation's cup, right? This is the portion of their dregs in the cup. It says, and this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth, right? So that's the plague that he's talking about over in Revelation. So like in Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. It all links up. So it says, I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Verse 5. Who is that her it's talking about? It's talking about Babylon. It's talking about spiritual Babylon, which is America. You understand? So we don't want to be a part of these people, man. We don't want to be a part of this nation mentally, right? the whole earth will be hit with nuclear missile fire, right? So that don't mean you got to go over and physically get out of America and go over to China or go over to Germany. No, that's not the case. It's talking about mentally, because the Lord wants your mind. Just like Esau wants your mind when they want to place the RFID chips inside your mind, right? So they want to be the Lord on the left-hand side. They want to sit in the seat of God. So the Lord wants your mind. Esau will want your mind too as well if they want to pretend to be God. So that's why the RFID chip is the mark of the beast. But that's a whole nother tangent. We're going to continue with this through the Spirit. So the Lord said, receive not of their plagues. Receive not of her plagues. Verse 5, it says, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and God have remembered her iniquities. God have remembered her abominable acts. Verse 6, reward her even as she reward you, and double unto her according to her works. And the cup which she hath filled to her double. Right? So all that rape, murder, torture, organ harvesting, hanging us, you know what I'm saying, beating us to a pulp, all of this, the Lord said, reward unto spiritual Babylon, reward unto Edom, reward unto these people the same, but not even the same, but double, right? Double. Give them double the dregs, right? Let's go over back to Jeremiah chapter 25. That's like it. Jeremiah chapter 25. Jeremiah chapter 25. We're going to go back to, let's see, let's go to verse 27. It says, therefore, thou shalt say unto them. So who is that them is talking about, right? To these, this is the Lord talking to Jeremiah. He said, you shall tell unto them, to these nations, right, that the Lord hath sent Jeremiah to. After Jeremiah took the cup of the Lord's, you know what I'm saying, fury, the Lord sent him to these nations, right? And the Lord told him, whoever I send you unto, they shall drink of this cup. So let's continue. It says, verse 27, it says, therefore thou shalt say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies, the God, the power of Israel. Drink ye, right? And be drunken, and spew, and fall, and rise no more, because of the sword which I will send among you, right? For that destruction, that pain that the Lord will send amongst them. Verse 28, and it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, then shalt thou say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, thus saith the Lord of armies, ye shall certainly drink, right? So it ain't no maybe, it ain't no might, it ain't no hold on, let me not take a sip just yet. No, the Lord said what? Verse 28, and it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thine hand to drink, the cup of destruction, the cup of famine, the cup of pestilence, if they refuse to drink that, then shalt thou say unto them, thus saith the Lord of hosts, ye shall certainly drink, right? They shall certainly drink. These nations will drink of that cup just like we had to drink of it, Yasharallah. Let's end it with these two precepts. Y'all know I like to end it with two precepts. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 12. So Yasharallah, if you really want to see the lake of fire, if you really want to see these nations pay for all of the destruction that they have done to our people, this is what you have to do. Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here's the patience of the saints. We all know who the saints are. Psalm chapter 148, verse 14, I believe. Psalms chapter 50 and verse 5, right? This what we supposed to do. We are the saints. Yasharallah is the saints. If you want to see the big payback, if you want to see the swift, righteous recompense that the Lord will bring unto them, this is what you have to do, right? We already brought out Deuteronomy 10 and 12, but this is what you have to do. Revelation 14 and 12. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahweh Shai, who the word really calls Jesus Christ. Let's get over here in the Old Testament, Ecclesiastes, chapter 12 and verse 13. It says, let us hit the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So with that, I'm going to say, Call Halayim, La'abanawa, Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach Wamalaki Hawashah. Bahashem Rakadash La'awalam Yum. La'awalam Yum. La'awalam Yum. The water, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh for taking the cup from us and bringing it over to them. Barakatah Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Barakatah Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Bahashem Rakadash Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai Nawa Mayan Ayabyam Nawa Babakasha 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 Wasalakla Nawa Yahweh Bahashem Hamashiach Wamalak Yahweh Shai. Bahashem Rakadash La'awalam Yum. Babakasha Babakasha Yasharala wake up. Babakasha Babakasha Salach Krayam, all called Adawamyam. And with that, I say Shalom.